like you said it on the broadcast afterwards, one game, and like you might feel as though you want to go away again and save the next new manager or Aurelio return bounce for finals football.
Yeah, oh well, things happen like that sometimes. Yeah, one of those things, I suppose. Happy that we got the result because it was an important game for us, a really big game. I think I said in the press conference as well after the game that we probably deserved to win the two game, or not the victory game, but definitely the Central Coast game and also the Newcastle game. The guys prepped really well and were unfortunate with dominant display that they didn't get at least six points in those two games, and that would have put us in a different sort of position today. But it is what it is. All we can do is keep fighting, Joey. To be honest, and every game since last week obviously was a final, and this weekend is no different.
Could you figure out like what changed between the Newcastle and Central Coast games and this one that saw all of these shots falling? Is it just the nature of football you get these days where everything goes in, or did something change in your prep, the tactics, what the boys did?
No, look, we're pretty consistent in what we do in terms of training, and just one of those things, I suppose. Everything that we touched and we hit in front of goal sort of went in. We've done that a couple of times this year, and we've also had games where didn't matter what we were doing, we just you couldn't hit a barn door from 5 yards. So just one of those things, and sometimes it's concentration, sometimes it's technique, but yeah, it went for us on the weekend and needs to continue to continue in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Because continuing it on is the big thing, because as you mentioned, you have hit sides for these big margins in the past, but obviously you go out and you hammer the Wanderers, and then you go 3 games without a win recently, and then you hammer Brisbane earlier in the season, but that's followed up by
Yeah.
win over Western United, but then 2 straight defeats. This time, third time's the charm, maybe. But how does this one spark a run of form?
Yeah, well, that's why we've been so inconsistent. We have a couple of decent games and then take a big step backwards, and that's been a bit of the key message this week, to be honest, Joey. It's about backing up, and it doesn't have to be a performance of 5-6 goals. It's just a super consistent performance, and backing up with a win. And I don't think we've had more than 2 wins in the row all season. So that's also something to look at. Our form also away from home is pretty poor. So that's also something that we have to try to make amends this weekend. But key is always for us mentality and attitude, and I think every team when you're playing at home, you've got that little bit of comfort. You're at home; it's very very familiar, and then the away game's always a little bit tricky, not just for us but for a lot of teams. But we'll keep our heads down and keep working and try to put them under pressure and try to get the win.
Because heading into this game, it's absolutely huge for the finals.
Yep.
6th against 7th. It's a bona fide 6-pointer, to use the cliche, but I imagine that has to mean that motivation isn't a problem this week.
Yeah, well, all the big games you got to get up for, even the small games you got to get up for. But as we saw this season, Joey, anyone can beat anyone. It doesn't matter where you are on the table. It's just been a bizarre season, and we mentioned last week before the Perth game that this is a final, and now this is a final for us. It is a grand final because for both teams really, a win puts you in a better position, and a loss really just knocks you out basically. So big game, got to get up for it. Got to have the right mentality, the right attitude. Everyone rolling up their sleeves. Just if we can be close to consistent like we were over the last 6 or 7 weeks, because I think probably since the Wellington game. We have been absolutely super consistent. We probably didn't have those couple of those games that we didn't win against Newcastle and Central Coast that we deserved a lot more. So the last couple of months have been super consistent in terms of performances.
Because obviously a lot's been made about the final streak this club has, decade-long streak, and none of the players there have been there for all of that, and you've had a lot of turnover in the dressing room heading into this season, but they're all super professional, talented players in that squad. Is it a point of, I guess, professional pride for them that they look around the dressing room, they see the pros they're playing with, their own standards, and they think, we should be playing finals? This is a point of pride for us?
Well, that's just a massive expectation here. Winning titles and playing in finals. Obviously, you got to play in finals to have a chance to win the final. It's the pride thing. It should be there every day, Joey. The pride thing, the standards, the behaviours you set, everything that happens on a daily basis in training should transfer and reflect on what's happening on game day. And as I said, we have been inconsistent at times during the course of the year, but I feel that the last 7-8 weeks we've been really consistent with those things. We've probably left our run a little bit late, but it is what it is. And I said, it's, again, for us, it won't be, I think, the ability. It definitely won't be the ability on the weekend. It'll be all about our mindset and our attitude.
Because the Wanderers, they'll be desperate as well. And it was only a few weeks ago that you beat them 7-0. How does that affect the dynamic of this? Do you think the Wanderers will just be, backs up against the world, point to prove? Does that make them even more dangerous in a game like this?
Well, they're an absolute dangerous team. That's quite clear. And this is not going to be a blowout by no means. It's a different kettle of fish. That they'll be hurting from that game. They'll be hurting from last week's Derby loss in the last minute. So there's a hell of a lot on the line for both teams. I think it's going to be a great battle. Sometimes, when you've got games like this, there may be some nerves, and sometimes these types of games aren't classic games. They can be just really tough slogs, and I'm expecting more of that.
And one potential difference maker, Tolga Arslan, he's got a hat-trick now. He's been, I guess in your mind, has he been the best player in the league this season?
He's definitely been one of the best for sure. Yeah, I think there's been quite a number of guys, who've had pretty strong seasons this year. But from my perspective, when someone's involved with 20 goal involvements and can influence the game on a dime, they're special players, special qualities. But I think there's been a number of players in the league this year that have also been exceptional.
Because I guess it must be really frustrating for you. Like on the weekends, you're missing a few players. Like Naboot's one of them, but you got Lecky there, you got Arslan there, you get McLaren, a hungry McLaren back into the starting lineup. You get all of these great players in there, and then look at what they go and do. How frustrating has it been that you haven't been able to do that throughout the season because of injuries and absences and everything else? Yeah,
look, I think every team has those moments where you cop a couple of injuries, but it's clear, not just our team, but every team, that once you're missing your better players, the more influential players, it does hurt. And I think every team can list a number of players that they've been missing throughout the course of the year. So we've been missing Lex and Andy for the majority of the year. Tilio came in January, and he's played one game and was injured. We miss definitely Aziz, who had a move to Saudi Arabia. So all those things have an impact in terms of the team dynamics. But as I said, probably every team in the league could have that sort of thinking as well. It is again, it is what it is. But we probably, if Jamie, as an example, was in top form, we probably wouldn't see the potential start of a nice career from a guy like Max Caputo, for example. So, and Ale Lapane has played many games as well. So, where you miss one thing, sometimes the flip side is that you have some emerging talent coming through, which is extremely important, especially at this club.
You mentioned Marco Tilio there. I think I heard on the broadcast that he might have mentioned that he was hoping to play this week. Is he available to play a role at any kind of role this week? And what's the health and fitness of everyone else?
Yeah, we've still got a session today and tomorrow, and he joined the group yesterday. So again, it's too early for us to say. So we'll see how he goes. Today's a reasonable session for us, so we'll see how he is after today and see how he pulls up before we make any decision. Apart from that, and obviously Andy, who's won't be back to pre-season, Benny Mazzeo won't be back to pre-season. Scotty Galloway's started training also with the group the other day, so he's probably a couple of weeks away as well, I'd say. Apart from that, everyone who was there last week is fit and healthy.